In the wake of Rise and Dawn at the beginning of the movie, you get this kind of explanation of what's happened before with the words rise, dawn in bold. It's sort of explaining, blah, blah, blah. There was a rise of the and everything with the dawn of the now we're going to war. And I have always thought the titles are slightly baffling. Anyway, now we have War for the Planet of the Apes, third instalment in this latest series of reboots. So this is a series which has been rendered on screen in many versions, right back from the original movies, and their sequels to the television adaptation. There was cartoon versions. There was, of course, the Tim Burton version, which everybody now sort of passes over rather gently, and now this. Essentially, humanity ravaged by the simian flu, the remains of the armed forces are now hunting Caesar, played brilliantly by Andy Serkis, in a last-ditch attempt to wipe out the rising ape culture. So humanity is in retreat, ape culture is on the rise. As with Kong Skull Island, you get this kind of weird Vietnam War parallel happening in the background. At one point, you see the words "Ape Apocalypse Now" written on the walls of tunnels that run underneath this encampment, where a character, the Colonel, played by Woody Harrelson as basically Colonel, well, a cross between Colonel Marlon Brando and Robert Duvall, is doing this sort of last-ditch attempting to build a wall, something which feels terribly relevant now because it's interesting because the production would have lasted such a long time. And in the middle of all this, you have an awful lot of tragedy, an awful lot of, grim labour camp sequences with a certain injection of much-needed comic relief from a character called Bad Ape.
You ape like me. No, put down.
How long have you been here?
Long time.
Are there more like you? More apes from zoo?
Dead. All dead. Long time. Human gets sick. Ape gets smart. Then human kill ape. But not me. I run.
You learn to speak.
Listen, human. Bad ape. Bad ape.
I know what you're going to say. That doesn't sound very funny, but that,
Correct.
Of course, but that is Steve Zahn, who during the course of the movie then becomes, messing around with, binoculars the wrong way around. And there is an element of humour as a result of his character. So, as before, the real miracle of this is the performance capture work done particularly by Andy Serkis. My breath was taken away by just how good the facial representation of Caesar, I mean the other characters as well, but particularly Caesar was. There's a wonderful moment in which the Colonel says, "My God, look at your eyes, they're almost human." And you think, yeah, that's absolutely right. That is exactly what they are. In fact, the face of Caesar, you can really see Andy Serkis in it. I mean, despite the fact that it's a digital face, you can absolutely recognise Andy Serkis's facial expressions and features in it. Everything about that character is three-dimensional, and there is nobody, I think, who has done, quite such a lot to push forward the performance capture process. I mean, obviously what you get is that it's this blend of thespian skill and just technological brilliance, magic, wizardry to make this character. And there were large sections of the film in which I was simply astonished by how good that stuff is. The rest of the film itself is, it's dark. It takes its subject seriously, despite the fact there are these kind of, these very sort of small passing, comic lacunae. And I was, as somebody who grew up on the Planet of the Apes movies, and I love the original Planet of the Apes movies, and I still hold a particular place for them. And the Tim Burton one, as I said, most people sort of now pass over. I thought it was a good, solid film with a brilliant central performance, for which we must say hats off to everybody that worked on the visual effects for it, and hats off to Andy Serkis for that performance. And I think it is surprisingly dark. And when you consider this is basically a blockbuster series, it is surprising just how dark. I don't mean dark in the Zack Snyder sense of dark. I mean dark as in properly dealing with difficult subject matter in a way that I thought was very impressive.